Welcome to the Free Library of Philadelphia and the Music in Fiction Authors in Conversation program. My name is Dina Halick, and I'm the head of the Philbrook Hall department upstairs, which is where you get your fiction and your movies. And I am thrilled to welcome you to today's program, those of you who are here in person and the people who are watching on the live stream. And just a quick housekeeping note, please refrain from taking any video or photos during the program. We will have this recorded. It will go up on the website afterwards. And there will be time at the end to answer questions, both in person and from the comments in the live stream. So, let me introduce you to our panelists. We're going to start with Philly native Xio Axelrod, who is a USA Today bestselling author of contemporary fiction and romance. Her rock and roll fairy tale, The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, was a May 2021 Book of the Month add-on, a Target Diverse Book Club pick, and it made the 2022 Reader's Advisory shortlist for romance. It has also celebrated its first anniversary. And it's been featured in Publishers Weekly, Entertainment Weekly, Popsugar, Essence Magazine, Vulture, Buzzfeed, and more. Hello, Xio. Hi. And next we have Priscilla Oliveras, who is a USA Today bestselling author and 2018 RWA Rita Double finalist who writes contemporary romance with a Latinx flavor. Her books have earned starred reviews from Publishers Weekly, Kirkus Reviews, and Booklist, along with praise from the Oprah Magazine, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Entertainment Weekly, Frolic, and more. Her latest book, Westside Love Story, releases today. Yay! Next, we have USA Today bestselling author Susan Scott Shelley, who writes stories with heat and heart where love always wins. In addition to crafting stories, she is a professional voiceover artist. Her novel Falling Faster explores the unlikely relationship between a rock musician and a comic book enthusiast. Yay, Susan! And finally, last but not least, Philly resident Eric Smith, who is an agent with PS Literary and a young adult author. His recent novels include the Yelsa Best Books for Young Readers selection, Don't Read the Comments, and You Can Go Your Own Way. His latest, Jagged Little Pill, the novel, written with Alanis Morissette, Academy Award winner Diablo Cody, and Glenn Ballard, is an adaptation of the Grammy and Tony Award-winning musical. That's a lot of awards on this stage. So without further ado, I'd like to pass this off to the panel who are going to have a lovely, intimate conversation about music and fiction.
Thank you, Dina. Dina's the best librarian on the planet, so like whenever you see any poll or vote that says vote for the best librarian, just put her name in there because she's amazing. But I wanted to do this today because, one, Pris is releasing Westside Love Story today, which I wanted to celebrate, but also I wanted to hang out with my friends, and I'm so glad you guys came, because we're just going to sit here and chat. So if, like, you know, it gets boring, I'm really sorry, but we're just going to talk music and books and have a little fun. But let's start with Pris, because this book came out today, and it's such an amazing concept. I want you to tell us about it, because I love West Side Story. I've done the musical like 3 times in like high school and college and everything. So like, yes, like tell us how you came up with this idea, because it's so, so cool.
Sure. Okay, so I will say, for a lot of my books, like the genesis of it is usually a character. And so I had seen online, I think a friend sent me, it was probably Sabrina Soul, sent me, another romance author, a link to a video, like they had interviewed out in California, a group of all-female mariachis. And so so like a lot of, like a big romance or big writing question is what if? So you read something or you see something, or right? And then you ask like, well, what if this and what if that? And it kind of generates into your own story. And so that's what it just, I was grabbed immediately by those women. And my papi's from San Antonio, so you know, like I just, as I started thinking like, well, what if there was another group and set in San Antonio, and what if this, y a lo mejor esto, right, and all of that, and then the Capuleta sisters were born. And
oh yes, you have to tell the family names because it's brilliant.
Oh, okay. So Westside Love Story, if you haven't guessed, it's, I don't like to say retelling, it's a reimagining, my reimagining of Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story. And so it's the Capuletas are the sisters, Mariana Capuleta and Angelo Montero. I could not have an Antony because I live in San Antonio, so I couldn't have like an Antonio from San Antonio. So he became Angelo, and so it's Angelo Montero and Mariana Capuleta. And so the genesis really was, I wanted an all-female mariachi band, and then the what if, and as an English major, and I love Shakespeare. And so in trying to think of, right, like what could be the conflicts of I have an all-female mariachi band, I thought about the competition, and then, well, what if their antagonists, right, were their competitors, and antagonists, ooh, enemies to lovers, oh my gosh, Romeo and, Romeo and all of that just kind of converged. And I will say honestly that I was first leaning like more Romeo and Juliet. So she was Julieta at first, and he was Roman. And but then as I started researching gentrification and in San Antonio, and I knew I wanted them to live in the Zarzamora C Street area where my papi lives, or where he lived growing up. And there's a lot of gentrification over there on like the broader West Side. And so it just kind of clicked, like, instead of Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, and really lean into that. And so then the names became Mariana and Angelo, and West Side Love Story just seemed appropriate. And so it just kind of went from there. But really it's it's Angelo's story, but it's a lot of like the Capuleta sisters and that fight for respect and a place in the mariachi industry that is male dominated, and a lot of machismo and that kind of sense.
Did you have to do a lot of research on mariachi when you were?
I did. I reached out also to some mariachi groups, some like all female, and I followed several online, and like went to their websites and really like dug into their stories. I also did the Capuleta sisters. There are 9 sisters, but they came to the Capuletas, Arturo y Berta, named after my grandparents, through the foster care system. So I also then researched the foster care system, and reached out to some entities, like to ask questions about, hey, look, this is my scenario. Is this legally possible? That kind of thing. So I really I have a lot of familia themes in my books. So I leaned into the sisters. So Angelo's story is in there, but it is a lot about the Capuleta sisters and Mariana's romance with Angelo, and the feuds of the familia is mostly, there's a battle of the mariachi band. So that's the 2 sides, and the 2 patriarchs are like on different sides of the gentrification kind of thing. But it was fun. I'm not a San Antonio native, right? My papi grew up there, and every major familia memory or event that we have on papi's side, we go to San Antonio or in the area. So it's my version of San Antonio, and my cousins, because I would like text a cousin, hey, if we're gonna say this, like, how would they, what's that, right? So I have a couple cousins that would like get random texts, then they would respond back, and but
I imagine mariachi culture is like steeped in tradition and steeped in like expectations, and so being an all-female mariachi band would be right smacking in the face of some of that stuff.
There are some, like Flor de la Toloacha is at one, and actually they're based out of New York, and they really push the lines of like femininity. And so for them, I really dug into them for book 2, Kiss Me Catalina, because Catalina, you'll see in book 1, she really pushes. Mariana is the oldest sister, and so she's really steamed in like responsibility and what I should do like for the family. But Kat is like, get out of the way because I'm coming through. In researching for both, but yes, there are some great groups out there that I follow on Instagram or on and go to their websites that really fed into and helped me to like get the right vibe or the feel for the sisters.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the American Song Contest that just happened. It's like our version of Eurovision, I guess. But one of the competitors, I think they were from, I want to say New Mexico maybe, was a female mariachi group.
Band?
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I was thinking nobody's going to vote for this, but they got pretty far.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was really cool. Because, America likes its music.
Yes.
But they got pretty far. They were good. I'll have to send you a link because they were really good. But moving to Susan, so you write, we're in the same vein of like the rock star world. So what drew you to that?
So a couple of things. So that's what I primarily like to listen to. And also my husband was in a hard rock band in college. And that's actually why he came
How
to
did I not know
Philadelphia in
that?
the first place. Yeah, my husband is like the very mild-mannered, like easygoing,
Totally,
nicest guy in the
totally.
world, and he's into like
Would never
heavy
think.
metal, and he was like lead guitar, and I like when he still I know,
how
and I like when he still plays because
I have
it's
to have
like
a chat with him now because I didn't get any of that.
he's really good. Like he's played from the time he was a kid, and I never had the opportunity to learn to play an instrument. So I like to give my characters things that I want to do. That's
Right.
why I'm like, oh, one's going to be a zookeeper because I want to play with animals all day, or like the guitarist or the drummer because I could take there's nothing stopping me from taking lessons now except that he doesn't want to teach me because there's a thing called lack of patience that I happen to have. But I could take lessons, and I want to. Like,
Yeah.
we hear another book that plays the piano. So again, it's like stuff. I'm really drawn to music because it really affects me, and I don't know if it's because I don't know why. I'm a highly sensitive person, but so I think like sounds and noises like affect me a ton more than like my husband or like other people. But music just emotionally really affects me, and I just think it's like when I hear musicians talk, like they say the same things. And that's why I'm just like, oh, I'm doing rock stars. Like I'm like rock stars. And then if it's just somebody that plays the piano because that's how they cope with life, or guys that like my husband, like they played in high school, but if they still get together with their buddies now, 20 years later, they're still going to the garage and playing, and he brings his amp. Like
Yeah.
it's like, and so I have this spin-off series from my original rock stars that ties them in a bit, and that's what these guys do. They started out in Buffalo, ended up in California to try to make it together. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
They're all spread out, but when they come back together for holidays and stuff, they go in the garage and jam.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I like throwing in music wherever I can, whether they're listening to it or boxing to it, or even like my baseball players. The players pick their walkout song,
Yeah.
walk-up song.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, if I had one, what would it be? Like I'm not
should have known.
athletically
We
like
walk-out music
my
for everyone.
softball team, right? Like we need walk-up songs, guys. But
We were just at the Phillies game on
that's my favorite part, is
noting
listening
like
to
their
what they
different
have.
walk-up songs.
It's my favorite part. And that's so silly, but it is. But I like how music affects crowds, like at hockey games
Oh,
and
yeah.
other things. And just, it's everywhere. It's like I heard somebody say it's like it's in the rhythm of things, even like raindrops and like cars going over potholes and like everything has music, and it just
Yeah.
I think like in one song you can experience all of the one song well done, you can experience all of the emotions that you could experience in a book,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, for
like
sure.
from the highs and the lows.
Exactly.
And
The
And,
beats.
like-
We were talking about beats earlier.
Like when I think of like Pris's book, like I think when one of your teasers, you were like, oh, tonight, or there's another
Yeah.
song, something's.
Something's coming?
I love that song, and I think about how like maybe one song like inspires a
Yeah.
book, or for me like different song titles inspire things, or there'll be like one song I listen to during like the breakup scene, and I'll listen to it for hours on repeat,
Yeah,
but not when
yeah.
I'm writing, because then I just give myself a concert and not get no work done. Like, I literally will sit there and just like sing, and it's not good. So I write in silence and like music every other time.
you were gonna ask about
Yeah.
But like also like with like Jagged Little Pill, I'm just like
Yeah.
that's like throw to Eric, but
Great,
like that's
great segue, Susan. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, we have to talk about. I mean,
That's like,
all
yeah.
of your books tie into music in some
love
way,
that,
right?
yeah.
But Jagged Little Pill is the one that everyone's going to grab onto because of the title and the history and everything. So,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, how did this project come about? And yeah,
Oh,
just
goodness.
Eric, go.
Yeah, so Jagged Little Pill happened in I guess a very unglamorous kind of way, you know? I go on social media a lot and talk about the things I want to see more of in books, as all of us tend to do.
Yeah.
And I desperately want to see more kids' books about adopted characters. I'm adopted. It's how you get a name like Eric Smith, and I look the way I do. And an editor saw me talking about it and reached out.
It's on Twitter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
reached out, and she was just like, hey, I see you talking about, your need for more, adopted characters. You're adopted. I have this project where the creators who handle the IP, the intellectual property, want an adoptee to write this book. Do you want to hop on the phone? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I was like, what is it? It's like, we have to hop on the phone. And I work in publishing, and usually when someone says, we have to hop on the phone, I can't type it out, it means it's Star Wars. So I was like, oh, yes, I'm getting a Star Wars, It's not what it was.
It was close. It was close.
But getting to work on a Broadway musical, that is like my start.
Yes.
You know, like I grew up on musicals. I was in a Broadway musical as a kid, and
Which one?
Wait, yeah.
I was in a Christmas Carol. I was in the original cast as a child.
Oh my gosh, I'm learning all these things.
Wow, that's like a Jeopardy question.
Yeah, seriously.
When you're a category on Jeopardy, we will remember that.
Right?
So yeah, that's how it came about. I got to send Alanis and Diablo some pages. They wanted me as the writer, and then I spent all year working on it in secret, you know, save for the handful of people I told in my Twitter DMs, as writers tend to do.
Right.
And that's kind of how it happened. It was just a lot of emails.
See, Twitter can be good sometimes.
Yes, sometimes.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally. But so I want to talk about the music and our writing processes. And for you, obviously, especially with this book, you had a soundtrack.
Yes.
Right? So, and we've talked about this before, but for those who weren't there, talk about how incorporating the music, the lyrics, the feel of the songs into the book, how did that process work for you?
Yeah, it was really tricky, actually, because in Jagged Little Pill, in the Broadway musical, so much of the musical is told from the perspective of the mother. Like the mom, MJ, is absolutely the main character. And so many of the songs are her songs. So when making it into a YA novel, taking the adults out of the equation, it had to just be the teenagers. And I had to figure out what songs in the musical might apply to some of the characters in the book, and figure out fun little ways to work them in. Usually you can't use the lyrics by a popular musician in your books, but in this case I got to just throw Alanis songs everywhere. So some of them were just like flat out the lyrics in the book from the musical, from the album. It's all the same thing.
All the same.
Like for example, there's a fun scene in the musical that you can watch on YouTube, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but like when one of the characters gets up to recite a poem to her class, it's ironic. It's the Alanis Morissette song Ironic, and all the kids are like raising their hands and being like, that's actually not ironic. You're not using the definition of irony correctly. And it's all very, very funny, and I got to put it in there. But a lot of the other songs aren't really translatable to like scenes, so there's just like little lines here and there where like a character says like,
Piece of dialogue.
well, you live, you learn, you know, to like the kids
Right.
and stuff like that.
That's so cool. So I know when you're writing, you have music that you listen to before you write, Susan?
Yeah.
So do you have like playlists for your books? Do you create
Sometimes,
like albums?
yes.
Like, you know, little
Sometimes I will have entire playlists, like 20, 30 songs long. Sometimes it's just one. And I'm sure my husband loves that I will listen to it on repeat.
Just be
Constantly. Like, I don't have my own office anymore because we live in an open workspace right now.
Right.
So I do use headphones, but I get, I'm sure I would drive myself crazy with it too if I wasn't the one doing it. Because I need that feeling, like that moment in the song or those couple of songs. But most of the time, it could just be, I'll hear the song first, then I'll be like, that's gonna go into, like, that's a character.
Yeah.
Or like, there was this great, like, somebody had this really, really good, like, breakup playlist.
Oh.
Like years ago, and I have to find it again. But like all of these like really like gut wrenching and these like angry songs are on there, and I'm like, this is brilliant. So I do pull, and I can't think of the name of it. The title's been escaping me since Xio and I had a conversation when Chantal, my co-author Chantal Mary, was right there, when we were talking about our book Spark that came out. There's a Foo Fighters song that was playing in my head as I was writing this breakup scene. I had to go find it, but now I still cannot think of the name of the song. I just hear Dave's voice in my head, and it's just this like over and over.
It's not Walking After You, is it?
No. Although that was based on one of my second Rockstar book, Love Song, was entire because he was trying to get the girl back, and it was like. That was the song I listened to the entire book.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff is Foo Fighters because I love Dave and I just love the band.
He writes evocative songs, especially for a drummer.
Yeah.
Like he writes the drum part first, and then like anyway. Long story. Yeah.
Like I've been obsessed. Like I've been a fan since the beginning, and I just like my guy had a blue guitar because Dave often has this like blue guitar and like like, whatever. But
do you ever like ruin the song for yourself, like listening to it again
I
and again
have.
and
That's
again?
what I wonder.
it does because like then I'll get it if I'll hear it later. I'll be like, oh, I remember, and I was like writing for like 18 hours on that one thing, and I'm like, no, like I need like I'll need a break from it.
Yeah.
Or it'll put me right back into that space of like, oh, I remember this. Like I can appreciate. But it does take some time. I need like
a breakup period from it.
Yeah.
A little while.
Like when we were recording, I recorded 2 songs for the Lilies, and the first one was a cover of the Toadies' I Burn.
I love
And
that.
so I had to like come up with my
So
arrangement
well.
for it, teach it to the band, go into the studio, figure out what we're gonna do. So by the time it was all done, I was like, I never want to hear this song again, you know. And then it started being used in promo and stuff. I'm like, I never want to hear this song again. So I started listening to their version again because this was slightly different. But yeah, you do kind of get burned out, or at least I do, of like a song or an album or an artist, because I'll find an artist like a Foo Fighter or whatever and just listen to their entire catalog while I'm working on something.
Yeah.
Like can you listen to Jagged Little Pill now, or does
Oh,
it?
no.
Yeah.
No, like, 'cause I was
Did you
listening,
listen to it a lot while
yeah,
you were
I
writing?
I listened to the Broadway musical again and again and again.
Yeah.
And like, now I hear that like, that the Alanis like harmonica come in, I'm just like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I listen to, like, I have a Pandora radio station, and then then I move over to like Spotify, like to listen to like a specific. So like with the Queens of Mariachi series, like with Westside Love Story and Kiss Me Catalina, I listen to a lot of female, like Ana Gabriel and Natalia Jimenez and Rocio, like a bunch of female, like ranchera mariachi singers, but also like Alejandro Fernandez, like, so a lot of mariachi, but I have on Pandora, I have like a romances, so like a Spanish, like Luis Miguel romances. I created a station, and so I just like the ones that I want them to play on there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're a bunch of older, like my parents' age, to newer romances, and so it could be from like lovey-dovey to breakup. And
Yeah.
what I find is, as I'm writing and I'm listening, every once in a while, like a song will come on, and I'll be like, this is perfect for it. So I'll make a note, and I write in Scrivener. I'll make a note of the song. So by the time I get to the end of the book, if I go back to all my different like chapters, you know, my files, I have like a playlist
Nice.
or an album
Yeah.
Yeah.
for their book, because sometimes they might be breakup, but they might be lovey-dovey, they might be just for her
Yeah.
kind of songs. But my issue is, especially if I'm using my standing desk, I'll start to take too many dance breaks, and then I'm not
You're
getting
just
very
like-
much done. So I have to limit myself.
She's
per
a great
hour,
dancer, by the way, so I
number
can-
of
I'm
like
picturing
dance breaks I can take to the song. But
Yeah, I think my peril is when a song that I'm listening to triggers like an idea for a song for me to write.
oh,
So like I'm like, okay, I really like that breakdown they did it right before the bridge. That would be a really good intro to a song if I just reversed this and that. And no, I'm not writing music right now. I'm working on a book, so I have to like make a little note over here. Or if you hear a lyric that triggers a story idea or something like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that doesn't fit here. Like just make a little note,
yeah.
put it on the side or whatever, you know. But I know that you listen to West Side Story, you watch West Side Story. Did you incorporate any of the like, because you can't use lyrics, but like maybe a couple lines in the dialogue like Eric did?
So I try, like, with my research, so I watched like Romeo and Juliet several times, and I went to like the Spark Notes.
Wait, which version?
The Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, that's a great soundtrack.
Right. So I watched that to look for story beats, and then I watched West Side Story several times. I will be honest, whenever I end West Side Story, I have to like go back to either I Feel Pretty or G Officer Krupke, because the ending is so depressing.
Sad. Yeah.
I need to end on an upbeat. So just to kind of like get the story beats and stuff, and then I set that aside as I started writing it, and I hoped that especially like different lyrics, different songs, if they could find their way, but I didn't want to plant them and then have it be like forced. I
Yeah.
just relied on, hopefully, like even as a Puerto Rican, my enjoyment of West Side Story, despite, issues
The
that
issues,
I might have
yeah.
with it, would help come out organically. So like there is a time where Mariana and Kat are in the car and they're talking, and Kat says something to her, and Mariana, as I was typing, Mariana says, I feel pretty. And I was like, oh yeah, that fits. And so I hoped that there were times, like I wanted to drop in like either a tonight or a somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to force it, so I just kind of trusted. And then when I went back, I hoped that they fit kind of organically.
Yeah, there's
throughout.
that line you have, even if you're not working with a property like those two, where you're just working with musicians. Musicians talk music almost all the time, right? So like that's just part of their vernacular. Everything is about music. but you don't want to like, alienate your readership if they're not musicians. So
Yeah.
like even with The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, I had a couple of scenes like in studios and things like that, and I'm like throwing all this stuff in there about the board and the Pro Tools and everything, and my dad read one scene and he was like, you might want to dial that back a little bit. You know what I mean? Like a little bit,
Like,
and I
how
was
hard is that? Because you are so ingrained in every aspect of that. You know everything so much. Like, is it hard for you to just, like, give, like, the light, like, how do you, like, do you feel like, no, I can't
To,
take
like,
that out?
remove-
Like, that should really be in
Pull
there.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how
Yeah,
is that?
well,
Is that hard for you to, like,
Once he said that, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, let me go through this and see, like, really, before I turn this over, like, how bad did I go down the rabbit hole? It was interesting because Tony, as a character, my character, is a young guitarist. She's like in her mid-20s, and she's sort of making her way through the world as a studio musician and like a session musician, and she wants to be like step in with a band when they need her and cut out when they don't. She's not interested in fame. So from that aspect, it was like easier to do. She's like, I'm here for the job. I love music. Music's in my blood, but I don't want to be like a rock star, which is why it's so funny that this drops into her lap. Like, well, now you are, But just her knowledge and her learning on the job kind of thing, that was from my experiences.
Yeah.
Her experiences, running into that like patriarchal, racist wall that exists. She's a young black woman playing rock music. So people were like, yeah, you shouldn't be here. You should be doing this or this, not that. And she was always coming up against that, which I did and still do sometimes. But it was easier when I went through Tony's experience, because she doesn't know as much as I do. And I don't know everything, but she doesn't know as much as I do. She's still learning. So I was like, let me approach it,
Yeah.
give that, she's like the window into this world.
Yeah.
And then as the books progress, it gets a little bit more involved. I'm working on the drummer's book right now, which I'm not a drummer. So the research I've had to do for that is kind of wild. Like I have drumsticks now that I just have in my hands all the time at home,
Oh, that's
so that I
good.
can just like
That's
get the
good,
feel
yeah.
of them and like beating on pillows and stuff. My husband's like, please don't get a
Oh
drum
my
set.
gosh.
He's like, we don't have room for a drum set or drum pads or anything.
On your husband's behalf, I'm saying please don't get a drum set.
I might get some pads though and just like stick with the basement.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and then I was doing watching a lot of like Taylor Hawkins videos, and then he passed away, and then I had to like step away
Yeah.
from it because, like you said, you just sort of like internalize the music and you internalize everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, like one of my main influences on this character is
Right.
now gone. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, it was challenging but fun,
Yeah.
to sort of like do an intro 101 to this world.
And everything that you're saying like ties into like the best writing advice I ever got.
Yeah.
So when I was working on You Can Go Your Own Way, it's this rom-com that takes place in a pinball arcade. And when I turned in the book, my editor emailed me back and was like, Eric, I want you to think about what this novel is about. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, she's like, throughout this entire book, you have all this stuff about pinball machines and like how the solenoids work and how the coils operate. And this, like, it's not about pinball. It's at a pinball arcade.
Yeah.
But it's about these relationships, about these people, and like everything you just said. That's exactly what it is. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
it's not about the tools and the gadgets
Right.
and how the music works.
Yeah.
It's about the people who love the
Yeah.
music.
Yeah,
and are
exactly.
into the music.
Yeah.
Who do it compulsively. It's like
Right.
they have to create. These are just the
Right.
things that they use to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
keep
that's
a
the
little
story.
note in my office now, like, what is this really about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
I'm gonna put that
That's
over my
good, yeah.
desk.
What is this?
'Cause you can get so bogged down, like with me with doing research,
Okay.
whether it's like, what's it really like to live in like a van with
Yeah.
your buddies when
Yeah.
you're trying to make it as a musician?
I'm looking up
What's
tour
it like
buses,
to go
the
on tour?
lengths and how
Oh,
many
I know.
belts
I
they
can tell
have.
you how they
I've done
build
this
them.
too. Like how to like, what's it like inside a tour? What's it really like? And I found
Mm-hmm.
this list by this guy, and this is like years ago, and I can't think of the band guy's name. Like he was like very big in like the 80s and 90s, and he was like, here's a list of don'ts. Like
Oh,
you
that's a good
don't
one.
like bring people, don't bring guests, don't bring overnight guests on with you that you're,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
or like don't like leave messes, don't be like inconsiderate, don't leave like your drums in the middle of whatever, like don't leave like open bottles of things, like just like don't leave the door unlocked, like don't like just so many things. And it's just funny watching these people rant or watching like how singers might protect their throats or their voices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When like my book about my singer, I'm like, oh well, he needs to be drinking that tea, and you can get so tied into like all
Yeah.
of these things, and like
Yeah.
it's important and you want to share them, but then it's kind of like
It's finding that
It's
line
finding that
between,
line, exactly.
you want to be able to, as an author, you
wanna
want
be
to
authentic.
crawl into their
Yeah.
head and know it. Like for a different book, but for Anchored Hearts, my hero, like fractures his tibia right? Like when the book starts, he's already had the surgery, but he's like in this contraption. And I am not a blood and guts person, but I watched hours of YouTube videos of surgeries
Oh my
like
gosh,
this,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
right, like this kind of.
Yeah, 'cause you
and-
wanna know.
Until my sister,
Yeah.
who's my beta reader, was like, start writing, stop watching videos, start writing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I said, even if like the surgery was never on the page, but
Exactly.
I feel the need to be able to like really know like what he experienced, to like really
To draw on it.
right, so
Yeah.
that Priscilla isn't telling this, but like
Right.
Alejandro is telling this
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
But there is that finding that line between
Yeah.
getting to know your character and what they've been through or what their world is like, and then like stopping and
Well, we were talking about culture, right, at
Yeah.
lunch today, and musicians have a culture, and within the music world, there's drummer culture, there's guitarist culture, and there's keyboardist culture and singer
Right.
culture. Drummer culture is something that I didn't know about, and so I started researching for this book. They all know each other, like they all talk.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
before Taylor passed away, like Dave Grohl was saying that if he wanted to know anything that was going on in the rock world, he would ask Taylor. Because Taylor knew every other drummer, and he's like, oh, so and so's going on tour. So and so needs somebody to step in for these 3 shows because his wife is having a baby, or whatever it was.
Right,
Like he knew
right,
everything, and they don't compete with each other the way that guitarists and vocalists do. You know, like
that's
guitarists will try to
interesting.
one up your, they'll do a solo, and then you do your solo, and they try to do a better solo. Drummers don't really do that. They're much more sharing, and like, it's more of a family. And I thought like drum circles, like you see in like Rittenhouse Square here, like people, it's more than that though. It's like, it doesn't matter how big they get. There's a young girl from the UK called Nandi Bushell.
She's amazing.
Right, she's 12
Oh
years
my
old
God.
now. She just
Wow.
turned 12. She's an amazing drummer, and she and her dad would film her playing like these amazing songs from like Rush and Led Zeppelin, like these crazy songs that like
So
adults
good.
can't even play, and she's killing it. And during the lockdown, she reached out to a bunch of people, like I think it was Rage Against the Machine, and a bunch of people, and was like challenging them to like drum offs or guitar offs or whatever.
online.
Yeah, online. And she
Awesome.
challenged Dave Grohl to a drum off, and she played Everlong. And he didn't see it, but his friends were like, dude, she's really good. You gotta like respond. And so it went back and forth. They ended up like Zooming with each other, and then they flew her out. Was it last year? They flew her to LA?
out to, it was 1 or 2 shows.
It was one show in LA, yeah.
Really?
And she sat in and played Everlong with them. Killed. It's on YouTube. If you haven't seen it,
She's
it's amazing.
so
She
good.
killed it.
It's great. Like,
But like her world was opened up because she went online and posted these things, and all of a sudden, like, Chad, what's his face from Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Right.
was doing a master class with her, with the drummer from this other band, and they're like in their 50s and 60s, looking at this little girl like, this is wild, but they were so giving and so generous,
Yeah.
and
Right.
not. It was amazing to watch. And I was like, this is a whole world that I'm falling into that I didn't know
Yeah.
about. But it's easy to like want to put all of that in the book.
Right.
Nobody cares
Yeah.
about
Right.
that.
yeah.
I can't put that all in the book, but it's in the back of your mind as
Right.
you're writing. Like,
As you're writing,
this
as you're
is the
creating
culture.
your
this is the-
character, like
yeah,
what
exactly.
what part of that
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
comes to life on the page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I asked you this before when we did Fox Friday last month, but if you could write another musical novel adaptation,
Not to-
what
wow.
would be like your dream one? You think?
Probably Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
You know, because like
Ooh.
it's at a private school or boarding school, and like it's all teenagers. Like
Yeah.
it's perfect for
Yeah.
it. Might be too sad. Like it is. It is a
You
really.
could do it, Kristen, and give it a happy ending.
Yeah, you can reimagine it.
Yeah.
But like, oh, the songs are just so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love that one. Like we all have our junk, and my junk
Oh
is
yes,
you.
my junk is you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
A wound.
beautiful
Was
one.
it? There's a line when he says, "I will be you. You are my wound. I will be your
Yes.
wound." Like just amazing lyrics in
yeah.
that.
I haven't watched the documentary yet because I know
Me
it's
neither.
gonna like make me fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
documentary.
Yeah.
Wait
It just
a
came
minute.
out like a couple months ago.
On
Yeah.
what streaming?
HBO, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So we're going down the musical rabbit hole now. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I saw it on Broadway. Just
Yeah, no, I
incredible.
didn't.
Like Duncan Sheik did the music,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just
Did
all
you-
those chord changes.
Did you see it with the original?
Yes, I saw it
Oh,
with Jonathan
girl.
Groff and Leah Michelle, and they were
Nice.
babies. This was before Glee,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
so
my
they were absolute babies, and I was like, that's a grueling show to do when you're 20 or whatever they were, 19.
I saw the tour. We were living in St. Louis, and as we were walking in, like to the theater, there was an older couple ahead of me, and the older man's like, "I don't want to see any sex on the stage," and I was like, Oh
Wrong
my
show.
God, I think you're coming to the wrong show. But I agree with you. It's like perfect for for your genre.
Yeah, I think I would definitely read that.
Okay. Whoever's watching,
So yeah, it's on YouTube, right? Spring Awakening. And Susan, so I know that you follow certain artists. Like, have you ever heard of an artist story, musician, or whatever, that you like? Man, I would love to take their story and fictionalize it.
I don't know. Like right now, I can't. Like I'm definitely inspired when I see the way different people are, or like Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm. Like I love that, and it's like, you know, she's a female-fronted band, and she's like amazing, and then you watch like the other like female like band singers like Evanescence, and then oh crap, what's the other one? Like she's really good friends with this one.
you're gonna be like,
I'm
driving
gonna-
home and you're gonna be like,
I am
oh,
going
was
to
it.
like comment on this video later
Yeah,
with
do.
every band I have forgotten right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But I like how they're so supportive of each other, and they just lift each other up, and you know, like it's amazing. So I
Yeah.
would actually like to see a little more of that, where it's a little less competition, a little
Yeah.
more of like, I got here, let me help you, or let's like,
Yeah.
kind of like
No,
not,
I agree.
not
Like,
attack this as like fighting over the same whatever. or-
Exactly.
yeah.
In the Lilies world, there is conflict and competition, but it's label driven. You know, they're
Yeah.
pushing the drama because it generates sales. But there's also this community that they're building of like people helping each other out and stuff like that. And I wanted to show that. But you know, it's an all-female rock band.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show the camaraderie there and the found family, because that's a huge theme in my books. But also they're making their way together through this world that keeps throwing obstacles in their way because of who they are and what
Yeah.
they look like or where they come from or whatever.
Right.
So I think, yeah, it's really important to do that. But so Tony was inspired by two people. One was Willow Smith. Willow is like this amazing young rock goddess. I love her so much. And then another artist named Her. And Her she was a prodigy, or she was like a protege of Prince's. She's a guitarist. She's a multi-instrumentalist, but her main instrument is guitar. And she's sort of on the R&B side, but when she picks up guitar, she can wail with the best of them. She's absolutely incredible. So those two people, that's like young Tony and current Tony. And I'm like, they both have really interesting stories as well. So I'm like, it'd be really interesting to write. Willow Smith, and she's Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's daughter, right? So her life is already like a movie, so I can imagine like fictionalizing her stories. That might be something that I might do.
There's this band called The Midnight, who I like a lot.
Yeah.
And like they're this like studio band, and it's like very synthy 80s style music, and they have like a saxophone that like randomly rips in all the songs. But like I was reading about how they were like a studio band, and their music kept blowing up, so they're like, we have to go on tour. But they're not a band that like performs live ever. And like
That's
when
so
I
interesting.
when I heard about that, I was like, I can't imagine the pressure of finally having to be like,
finally doing,
we
Yeah.
have to leave our computers
Yeah.
and like go perform.
Have
Like
they done
Stage
it?
fright is a
yeah,
very
they
real
went on
thing.
tour recently, and I would love to like read that story of like, I gotta be famous now,
There's a couple of bands like that.
That transition would be
Yeah.
that interesting, like making that jump. Yeah,
There's-
writing about
So
that jump.
scary.
Yeah.
There are a couple of bands that started out either as studio musicians or like, I think the Pet Shop Boys were music journalists. And they were like, we can write music that's better than what's on the radio. So they decided to do that. Yeah, or like there was a band from Philadelphia called Huffamoose back in the early aughts. And they were all session
Wait, what's
musicians.
the early aughts?
Like the early 2000s.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. I'm like,
The aughts. And they were session musicians who got together and like jammed, and I guess they played like some pubs in Manioc maybe or something, and then people really loved them, and their crowds kept getting bigger and bigger, and then they were like, I guess we'll do an album, and then they got signed to a label, and then it's like, what do you do when you go from being like Tony, this obscure, I'm behind the scenes doing my job, making a living, to all of a sudden you're in the spotlight. Not everybody can make that transition, and you have bands throughout history like Steely Dan, XTC, who didn't like successfully make
Couldn't
that
do it.
transition into being in front of the spotlight. But what about you? Is there another musical influenced story hiding in you? Well, you got
don't
Kiss Me Kate, which
yeah,
is not a
so-
musical, but you got
book 2 in this series is Kiss Me Catalina.
Kiss Me
It's Taming of the
Catalina.
Shrew.
Yeah.
Only except instead of getting married and him taking her like off to his kingdom, she signs a recording contract with his label and goes on tour with him.
Oh wow.
So that's Kiss Me Catalina that comes out in November. And I don't know, like I have I might have songs that influence, but I've never written like because of a song. So
okay. What are you doing here? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know what I'm doing here. So I have to think.
But I know
like,
music
even,
is such a huge influence on you.
It's a huge part of like in my writing. So like with Their Perfect Melody, Diego, he's Chicago PD, but he also plays a classical Spanish guitar. So every time I wrote the scenes that were in Diego's point of view, I had researched like on YouTube or in other, other musical, like other areas online, like concerts that were classical Spanish guitar. And so that's the music that I listened to when I was writing in Diego's point of view. Like it just helped me to kind of channel him. So really for me, it's not that a song has inspired me to write a character, just as the character comes to me and as I get to know them and what kind of music do they listen to. Lili in that book was a ton of reggaeton. So again, watch the dance breaks. But while I was, Lili, I listened to,
this right
I know, I have a standing desk, which is great. Like when you're writing for a long time, right? Like you can get your steps in still as, this is here, like your hips and your feet are moving. But when you step away, it becomes the problem. Like you don't get as much done.
Balance boards under my standing desk, so I'm like skateboarding, surfing, whatever while I'm standing.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't have
those are
that.
awesome.
I'm gonna have to look into that. But so like with Lili, it was a lot of reggaeton. So that book, I didn't so much listen to my regular music. I listened to their music. And then the same thing, I didn't listen to a lot of mariachi music or bandera, ranchera until the Westside Love, like the Queens of Mariachi series. And then it was just mostly whatever songs the characters have told me that they like to listen to is the music that I listen to when I'm in their POV.
Does it ever surprise you when you're writing a character, the kind of music that they're into? It maybe limit to something that you don't listen to that they do?
I don't think so far, no. Like even the next book that I'm writing that's not sold yet, it's partially in Puerto Rico. And so there is a lot of like salsa, merengue. So I don't know if that's me like getting my way in there or not, because that's what I like to listen to.
I do that too. Like the book, one of the books Chantal and I are writing now, our guy is like really, like he's into like musical theater and he's been doing it since he was a kid. And he does karaoke. So when they do karaoke, I'm like, well, what would he sing? What would I sing? I don't know. But like, he gets a playbill from Wicked. So I'm listening to the Wicked soundtrack, and then like that leads me to listen to like Phantom of the Opera, or listening to like Avenue Q, or like going all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, of course he's gonna listen to musicals. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So I tend to give them things that maybe because they're springing out of me, they tend usually to like fall into kind of what I might. But maybe one of them might be more of like calming, which I don't know. Like I prefer like like.
You like your energy. And
I like the high energy stuff because I think it like lifts me up.
Yeah.
But I really like it. It's interesting to see like, okay, well this guy's definitely musicals. What would this guy be then? Well, this guy.
Yeah.
No, like I think it's definitely more probably still rock. But like I haven't gotten anybody yet who's been like really far outside like something that I would listen to.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give, there's this one group, a few years ago, I found out about them, and they're called Baby Metal.
Yeah.
And because Dave Grohl was defending them when people said that it wasn't real heavy metal, and he was like, yes, it is, leave them alone.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're fabulous, and it's these three girls, and then there's like people behind them
tiny,
and stuff.
and
they
have,
are,
like,
and they have like, they're like,
pigtails and little
and
skirts.
it's so cute, and I love it.
Baby metal?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm totally Googling this.
Are they from Japan, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Japan? Yeah.
Because they sing in, I think, I don't know if I've ever even found anything that's had subtitles like for the songs, but yeah, they're so fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, I like it. But yeah.
And I had a similar experience with You Can Go Your Own Way. Like the main character is like desperately trying to hold on to his father's failing arcade now that his dad has passed away. And like I wanted to make him just basically like emulating his dad, even though like that's clearly very bad for him as part of his character arc. So he wears like an REM leather jacket and he listens to like Heart and like Fleetwood Mac, and there's like there's a whole moment in the book where he's like talking to the girl that's the love interest, and he says something like along the lines of like I can't fight this feeling anymore, and she's just like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a song that I like, and like is completely oblivious to what he's just said to her. And like I don't listen to classic rock all that often, like just once in a while, but like it was so right for the character that that's just where it went.
Yeah.
And I listened to a lot of it while I was working on it.
Yeah.
It's like whatever will help you to like identify with that character.
I tend to write a lot of characters who are not American too. Like I have a couple Norwegian characters, And the first time I wrote a Norwegian character, he's a Norwegian rock musician, and so I listened to Norwegian rock.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, and I was listening to like Norwegian hip hop at the time. I was like, okay, well, let me check out the rock, and it's so different. So I was like, yeah, it put me in a totally different headspace for him, you know. And I'll have to do the same thing when I get to the fourth Lily's book, because she's also from Norway. But yeah, I don't think I've had a character who has been completely outside of but I listen to a lot of different styles of music, but I haven't had anybody who listened to like, you know, I don't know, death metal or something like that, because that's probably not something I listen to often.
I've had different personalities. Like, I will be honest, Kat and Patricio are very domineering and like very different from, so it took me a while to actually feel comfortable starting their book, because I think they intimidated me, and then I realized I just needed to like get out of the way and get into their head and just like go with it.
Yeah.
Or a lot for Catalina, I would be like, okay, so what would Pris do? Okay, so Kat's gonna do like the opposite, right, and go that way. But music-wise, not yet anyway, have I had anybody who's been like totally. Because I wonder how that will be. Because music really does, like the emotions of music, the highs, the lows, soundtracks. I listen to a lot of K-drama soundtracks just because of the emotion.
Film scores are just, I mean, they're built to drive emotion, so they're fantastic.
So to be listening to some kind of music that is jarring to me will be interesting if that character comes to me and is like, look, lady, this is what I listen to. I don't know what'll happen.
Well, it's like the music for me, anyway, is like a pathway into a character.
Yeah.
So if it's somebody who's outside of my personal experiences that I'm writing, I'm like, okay, you know, it's like, what color do they like? What job do they have? Whatever. But what music do they listen to? What are their favorite films?
That's,
and then like,
that's where my initial
you know,
questions.
and then you find them through that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, we have
Are you
like
waving?
10
Yeah.
minutes. Or
Okay.
like, do we have any questions?
Well, let's see if we have any questions.
Do we have any questions out there?
Any questions in the audience?
I don't know if there were any on the YouTube, but don't be shy if you have
Yeah,
questions.
don't be shy.
And we do have questions.
Yay!
We can start with the online stuff, and we can move on. You can stop being shy after that. So first off, actually, someone asked, do you listen to music when you work or write? And I think you kind of answered that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to, if your main character had a theme song, what would it be?
Ooh. I would say Mariana's it's a song by Natalia Jimenez, Creo en mí, which means like, I believe in myself. That's really like girl power and empowering.
Theo?
Tony played a lot of Alice in Chains when she was doing her like open mic stuff. But I think right now her song is a song by Aurora called Queendom. Because she's feeling very empowered at the moment where she is in the series.
Nice. Jackie would pull us 5 characters, so I'm going to go with, you can go your own way. And I think the main character, Aaron's theme song would be probably Alone by Heart, because he rocks out to it in some parts, and that's not a song to necessarily totally rock out
Yeah.
to.
Great song, but
I know.
And Whitney's is probably Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
how about you?
So in Shine, which is the latest book, we've got this one character, Apollo. He's like very, very shy and very, very awkward. And I should make Chantal answer this question.
She's like,
So our other hero is Hercules, and he's not sure of himself and has to learn that he's like, good enough the way he is. So I really think it would be that, Just the Way You Are song, the Billy Joel song, because like I really think that would fit because they're both
That is
like
a good one.
you come from somebody who feels like he has to hide because first of all he's a 6'7" like giant who is very awkward and does hide behind his hair like all the time, and you have this other one who doesn't think he's ever been enough, and then when they both realize that they are, it's just
That's a perfect song.
I think that
awesome.
fits. Yeah.
Aw. Good answer.
I'm so glad I thought of a title. Oh my God, like, I'm blanking yet again. So.
Okay, we're going to go to a very wide-ranging question, which is, what is the importance and purpose of music in our lives, or in your lives? Let's narrow it down.
Wow, that is a good one.
Well, I'm a mellophile in that I always have music in my head. Even right now, there's music in my head. Each room in my house has a theme song. It's not something that I can control. So for me, music is my lifeblood. That's just, I grew up in music, and I don't know if it's because I grew up in the music industry or if it's just something that's innate to me, but it's just me. It's just part of who I am.
Like, so then I would ask you this, does this happen to you, like, I'm in like a meeting for work, or like at a dinner, like at a big dinner, and someone says something, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a song, like, a couple words from there, like a song lyric, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing the song in my head, and I don't know what they said next.
Yeah.
Because I'm singing the song. I'm
Yeah.
figuring, is that you as well?
Yeah, except that the song that they trigger will replace the one that's already in my head.
Oh my gosh.
Because right now I have You Can Go Your Own Way in my head. It's been there for
Yeah,
like the
like he
last
said
5
something
minutes.
earlier, and I was like, I don't know what he said next, because I'm singing the
Yeah.
song in my head.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Jagged Little Pill has been in my head for like 3 weeks because I'm like, I'm eating crickets.
right?
So I guess, so in answer to the question, yes. Daily life, I, like Xio mentioned, I love dancing, so like music just triggers like happy feelings, like feel-good feelings, just in general. And in my family, my familia, there's, we love to dance, we love to, anytime we're together, there's music, there's food, there's adult beverages and non-adult beverages.
Her
but,
dad is great at karaoke.
yeah, there's singing, there's karaoke, but there's also a lot of dancing, and in my books as well, or like part of my writing process. Sometimes it's rainwater, like if I really just need to have like nothing, but most of the time there's music playing. I think just the emotions it evokes helps me to kind of like get into the zone with my characters. But in life in general, music is just like, it's like life, and it's laughter, and it's feel good, and it's everybody getting together, and it's all of that is, I just glom on that in general.
Yeah, I think with me, it enhances and elevates everything. Like whether it's just something that's happy, I'm already in a good mood, or it can get you out of a bad mood. Like what was that on American Idol, like that you had a bad day song? They played at the end of every episode. I didn't even watch a single episode, but I know that was at the end of every episode one season they played that. But it just, I don't know, it just makes everything feel more. It just gives everything another level to me, and that's just, I don't know. Like,
And if you're feeling grr, you put on some grr music to get the grr out.
Yeah.
And I get very, this is so stupid, but music that they play in stores, well, I either, if it's something I like, it'll be like something like this one Trader Joe's, like when I go to Trader Joe's, sometimes they'll play 90s, rock. And then they'll mix it up with some 80s stuff, or for the one day it had 1960s stuff. And I was like, this is great, I'm gonna take my time shopping here today. But it just, so wherever it is, it affects me so much. But yeah, just elevate and enhance, I guess.
Yeah, for me, it just grounds me in the spot that I need to be, When I'm working on my YA books, I'll usually put on pop punk that was around in the early thousands or early aughts.
Early aughts.
I was like, maybe that's my age. I was like,
I'll crank up Newfound Glory or Good Charlotte or whatever.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, whatever pop punk chords music I need. And then when I'm at work, it's usually I'm reading other people's books, and I tend to listen to music that reminds me of that particular writer, and it gets me in that space really well. So that helps a lot. Oh, there's someone with a question.
Oh, yay. I was gonna say, music can even make cleaning fun.
That's
Yeah,
true,
yeah.
yes.
Cleaning
Yes.
music.
It makes tasks go by.
My name is Denise Ripley, and I'm a block captain. And I was talking to my neighbor. She had introduced me to her grandson, and he has wrote 4 children books. And I was wondering, how could he promote his books more? Because he works with a nonprofit after-school program, but he's writing books for children.
Maybe a question for you, maybe.
Yeah. So has he published them? Is that the? Oh, awesome. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Ways to promote them more is to try to generate the word of mouth that gets people excited about them. Yeah, well, not just putting them on the internet, but also sending them out to reviewers. Looking up reviewers on the internet, getting them in their hands. The reviewers are the people that end up talking about the book and getting you to do cool things like this. By generating that.
They get excited
buzz.
about it.
Yeah. And it's the one thing you can't really, I guess, buy. You can buy advertising, you can buy all that stuff, but getting people who are passionate about your work to talk to other people about it, no publisher can buy that for you.
Yeah.
So I would tell him to send the books to reviewers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was gonna say, network, right?
Yeah,
So,
networking.
him talking about other books, other people will talk about his book, and
Yeah.
Meeting other children's authors and doing things together.
Oh, yeah, because I read to the children for the summer. We read books.
Oh, that's
oh,
awesome.
that's great.
Yay. Okay, so let's go to another one from the website, or from the live stream, which is there any type of music you don't like as much as others? Phrased very diplomatically.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything, I would say there's not anything I don't like, but I mean, there are some that I can listen to like for a certain amount of time, and there's some that I could just listen to at, you know, at any moment, but I don't think there's a music that I would say no, at least at first, like to experience it, to try to take it in, to see like how it makes me feel. I'm trying to think, like, I would say I'm probably not gonna like go to a heavy metal concert, unless you give me a ticket, and then I'll go, like,
Next
to
time
go,
you're in
right,
town.
to experience, to experience like 2 hours of it. But again, I would still go, I think,
Yeah.
just because to be open to the experience and to see what it's about, so.
That's a good way to put
Yeah,
it.
there's not like a no, for me anyway.
Whatever Skillrix is, I forget. what-
Skrillex?
Yeah, whatever, what is that genre?
It's dubstep.
Yeah, I don't like that. But that's,
Right.
maybe that's it.
I will say, my youngest daughter took me to like a rave thing one time, and like, when I'm dancing again, I wanna like be singing the words, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, there's like no words to
Yeah.
this. There's like just like a bunch of different, you know, so after about an hour, I was like, okay, are we ready to go? But it lasted an hour, you know.
And I think even if there's something that might not be, you know, your choice or your favorite, there's something always interesting about whether it's an arrangement or like a guitar lick or just something that you could, I don't know, find appreciation in.
Yeah,
Right.
I can appreciate someone's
Yeah,
skill. at what they
exactly.
do.
And that the effort and just, yeah, so, I don't know, but I would say maybe like, if I'm later at night, I've learned not to listen to music I really like because I will not go to sleep. I'll
Yeah.
need to put on like rain sounds in the ocean, and
Yeah.
then I can drop off. Or there's this really great YouTube like fall asleep music, and it's piano and it's lovely. And
Is that the one with the squids? There's a Monterey Bay Aquarium has like a squid tank.
oh, that would be
with,
awesome.
like,
Go to
music.
sleep to?
Yeah.
Oh, I should
Oh,
watch
really?
that. I'll have to look for
Music
that.
Oh, that's
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
yesterday might be. Yeah, I don't think there's a genre of music that I don't like.
Yeah.
There's definitely ones I like more than others. But I think in almost every, I mean, I've listened to like Mongolian throat metal, and I've listened to bluegrass, and I've listened to everything in between. I used to be in a madrigal group, like I listened to Gregorian chants. But like, if anything is really well done, if someone's really skilled in that
Yeah.
genre, then I will definitely check it out.
Yeah.
I may not
Yeah.
spend a whole day
Right.
there, but I'll check it out, like you said.
Yeah.
I used to not like country, like that was like a firm, oh, I don't like it. And then I grew up and had a kid and have a job and have taxes, and I'm like, oh, now I get all this. Because it's a lot of like, I'm gonna sing about a difficult life. And
Yeah.
like, a lot of those country songs, they almost sound like a novella.
It
you
is,
know?
it is.
I'll say,
And
I
I
grew
know
up, like,
that.
my puppy's from San Antonio, so half is like Mexican polkas. When we'd have a family reunion, half the music is like Mexican polkas, rancheras, and the other half is country music,
That's
right?
amazing.
So we have like
Yeah.
a mix, so I
Yeah.
grew up with that. Yeah.
And I grew up in my dad writing R&B and disco, so you know, I listened to the Village People when I was a kid. No idea what they were singing about, but you know, there it was.
Okay, and someone's just giving me all these really good questions. If you could be super talented at one instrument, what would it be?
Oh,
Oh my gosh,
so
only
hard.
one?
I suppose you could be mediocre at the others, but
Right.
really good at
If
one.
I
You
could
can
go
master
back to
one.
my childhood, my first answer is I would not have let myself stop piano lessons.
Oh,
But you can't really carry a piano everywhere with you.
that's true.
So I would either like to be the violin or the guitar, like, right, like be around a
Yeah.
campfire playing the guitar. But the violin is just so beautiful. Like I was telling you, I just went to a string quartet concert here in Philadelphia, and they played all ABBA songs. It was
wow.
amazing. I would totally recommend it. But the violinist was just so. Mine would have to be either the guitar or the violin, but a piano player could really like win me over also. Wait, I'm supposed to play it, not them, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you.
Sorry, but yeah.
Master the skill.
I think I'd be violin too. You know, like I loved Yellow Card and bands like Quiet Drive, where it was like pop punk and violin for no reason. And I would have loved to be that guy.
Yeah. We went to a Josh Groban concert like years ago, and he sang a duet, him and a violin player, like singing
love
it was beautiful. Yeah, I loved it.
But
I don't know, like, I'm torn. I mean, I love the idea of guitar because, you know, my husband plays and I think it'd be fun to have like dueling guitars. You know, why not? And my dad actually used to play too, which I forgot about, like way before like children. But, so I guess guitar, but I actually like the idea of piano, like in doing the research for that guy, just like to be able, and also to be able to do it with both hands. I don't know, I just think that that's like, I don't know, I like very much like symmetrical things, I don't know, but, so, and I think it's just soothing, and you can make it like really intense or very, very light and soft, and so I'd probably pick, if I had to choose, just, I'll be mediocre at guitar, and I'll carry the piano, and then you can play when you want.
What about
piano
you,
is
Tina?
piano is my instrument. I find it's very therapeutic for me. But if I could master an instrument, I'm torn between cello and drums. Cello for me is the closest sound to the human voice. It's just so, there's something about it that just, when I hear a cello, I immediately have to stop and like seek it out. And then I've always loved the drums. Like I'm a very like rhythmic person with my songwriting and stuff. And so I think if I could find a place to put a drum set, I would do it.
Are you, like, I had a boyfriend in high school that played the drums, and I tried, and like your foot's playing one thing, and this hand's playing on like
You got
both-
2
and
feet,
this one's,
yeah.
and I was like, mother of God, like it
How
was
do you
like
keep
3
track of all
different.
that?
I
Right.
can do
You want to
it.
blow your mind? There's a band called Tool, and the drummer's name is Danny Carey, and there's a video that Vic Firth, who makes Styx, Vic Firth did a drum cam of him playing one of their songs live.
Oh my gosh.
His set is incredible. It's like a master class in polyrhythmic drumming. So if you ever want to check it out,
Oh wow.
you should
Okay, I'm gonna have to text
But yeah,
you. You'll have to
cello
text me
drums.
that link.
I will.
Because I was just blown away with the ability to play like 3, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
one thing, like, right, like pat your
Yeah,
head,
yeah.
right? So that's 2 different things.
Yeah.
He was doing like 3 different things. I
Yeah.
couldn't do
And then
it.
Danny does like 5.
Yeah. Wow.
He's insane.
That's
So, yeah.
awesome.
So yeah,
That's
cello
pretty
and
cool.
drums.
Cello and drums, violin, piano, guitar. No, violin?
Guitar, piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guitar.
I'll pick piano, I'll stick with piano.
Guitar. There you go. You're the guitar. Remember those?
I want to thank you all for coming out and letting us kind of into your head for a bit while you were chatting. Do you want to just go around and tell us what your books are one more time?
Yeah, my latest is Jagged Little Pill, the novel. It's out now.
Is it available here in the library, right? Yes.
Should be.
If not, it will be soon.
If it's not, request it and we'll get it.
Yeah.
And my latest is Shine, right there with my co-writer Chantal.
Who's hiding in the audience, but we love you.
And that's part of our Love and Rugby series, because I throw in sports wherever it's possible.
And my latest release today is Westside Love Story. It's book 1 in my Shakespeare reimaginings. Book 2 is Kiss Me Catalina, coming out in November.
And my latest is The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, which is the first book in a 4-book series called The Lilies. And it is available here at the library, so make sure you check it out, or if they don't have many copies in stock, get more.
You're a bully.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you for coming. Thank
Priscilla
you.
Oliveras,
Everyone
Susan
online.
Scott Kelly, Eric Smith. Thank you
Thanks
so
so much.
much.